So we talked to Kevin and Ken about the run game. So what are a couple of things that you guys think you can do better over the last 8 weeks as opposed to before that?
Yeah, we just, at the end of the day, it comes down to executing what we call the runs. We've had some decent looks, and there's been some good runs. We watch all of our runs from, before the bye and stuff during the bye, so we try to get some of that going. But it comes to executing, and we have an ideal premier look. Like, you have to take advantage of it. I've been for too many where it's like, oh, this is a good box for us, and someone missed a block or missed call. So those have been tough for us. We're gonna try and get back to it good though. We're gonna add some things in there, getting it comfortable. But it really comes down to executing.
Kevin or Ken just mentioned, leading into what you guys did well for the first 9 games. Can there be a significant scheme shift going back to something you did before? Or
yeah,
really focusing on one area.
We have a lot. Not a lot. Like everybody has every kind of run. You have gadget zone, you have inside zone, you have G schemes. There's a lot that goes into it. So you can find the plays that you were successful in and kind of, work into that a little bit better, and especially with your personnel. You have different guys that sell different things. Why it's a good puller and get him in space and do things of that nature. So there's definitely ways you can find it. And it's not that we don't have the plays in. It's just what we're going to call it.
So why might Jameis be the right quarterback or the right guy to kind of help navigate you guys through a 2-7 record in the rest of the season?
Yeah, he has contagious energy. Every day he's the same guy. He's first hand in the building, and he's focused on being the best version of himself, which in turn, helps the team out. But he has a very positive energy, and when you're out there with him, that there's that excitement that he brings, and he's focused on just trying to win one play at a time, and really he does do a good job of playing one play, forgetting that play, and going on to the next play. So. That's kind of the mentality we've had as an offense, and we're just trying to win one play at a time.
Are you getting used to having the one jump next to
you? Yeah, it's been good. We've had a couple weeks now. We're going to the third week, and I give him a lot of credit for going over there and trying to play. He's played a lot of right tackle, so the switch sides is tough, but I think he's getting more comfortable each time he gets a rep there. And our communication is getting better. I understand what he likes to hear and how we need to communicate. So it's improving every week.
The fact that he's so big.
It does. It's a little comfy, you got a big guy next to you. You're like, oh, this guy's big over here. But no, you get used to it. Every once in a while, I'm like, hey, scoot out a little bit. Like you're you're a big guy, but no, you get used to it pretty quickly.
When we talk to Andrew about the tackles, he has the philosophy that right can play left, left can play right. Just though your vast experience in seeing DeJuan make this transition over there, do you see him as a potential future left tackle in the making?
Yeah, I think he can play it. I think he's shown already. I mean, we went against Khalil Mack and Bosa, and there's some help and some chips and some scheme stuff. But for the most part, he's very solid in pass protection. And for him, it's always going to be the details and just keep working that. But I think as long as his body holds up and stuff, I think he can play either side. It's kind of what other side he wants to really get into and make that commitment to. But yeah, I think he could be a left tackle or a right tackle, whatever he kind of chooses or the coaches choose.
Yeah, that's another question on the running game. We were talking to Nick yesterday, and he said the blocking schemes are very similar to what you've done in the past, but his words were, the running game just hasn't been up to the same level, and he did not know why. Why do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we had an answer, we'd be running the ball a lot better. Like I said, when you look at the tape after watching everything like that, it's come down to most of the time like one guy missing a block here and there, and so it comes down to doing your 111th and finding that execution. Like Nick said, like we're running a lot of the same schemes, and I say if we get a clean box and we get a premier look, we have to truly execute that, and that hasn't been done enough. Where it's like, oh, premier look, we got 3 or 4 yards. It's like 4 yards is a positive run. But when you have that look, you got to get 10 plus. You got to have an explosive run, and we haven't executed that well enough.
So when you look at the Saints defensive front, what's standing out?
Yeah, they all play hard. They have a lot of experience. Their edges are big. Like 6'4", 6'5", 260 to 280 guys. They're pretty versatile. Played a lot of jam last week, which is putting 5 guys on the D line. But their inside guys are all talented, powerful rushers. They 2-gap most of the time, but they'll run some games, and then their their rush package is pretty good. They have a lot of games, but they can give you odd, they can give you 4 down. They put their linebackers up, and they can pick and do all types of stuff. So it's pretty versatile front.
Joel, you obviously have a quick turnaround after this game. How hard are those like short weeks gotten on your body?
Yeah, they're tough. It's not easy to go from Sunday to Thursday. I truly haven't even thought about it yet because I'm like, we got a game this week, and then I'll figure it out next week. But no, they're a tough turnaround, especially I feel like there's early in the year your body's not quite used to playing, so that's a tough turnaround. But later in the year, you're like, this is tough. But we have the bye, so hopefully guys are getting fresher and feeling ready, and they can kind of take that into this little 2-game stretch.
Yeah, I was going to ask. Like, so you're not like thinking about kind of that turnaround, that recovery time, or anything like that already?
Nope. I got to play this game I can't double think.
Yeah.
Joel, kind of along those lines, I mean, do you have how you want to spend the bye week, like down to Saitns kind of at this point in your career? I mean, I know last year you had that small procedure done on your knee, but this year not having to worry about that. What's most important for you?
I got 3 kids now under 5, so I got to spend time being a dad and being a husband, get a date night, some fun things like that. But we just stayed in Cleveland. I came in, got my body right a few days, but then for me, it's really getting out of the building and like getting away from people, the building, like just refresh your mind. But I got to be a dad for a few days, so that was pretty fun. But I don't have anything. If I need to come in, I need to come in. It's I don't take any extravagant trips. I think early in my career I made a plan for a trip, and I got a high ankle sprain like the day before in the game before. So I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just focusing on football.
Jordan was here yesterday. Jordan Hicks was talking about just like all the stuff that he's been doing this season. It just got me thinking, like, that's probably goes in one ear and out the other for you guys, and even less. But like, how often are guys dealing with injuries and stuff like that people don't see?
Yeah, it's 100% injury rate in the NFL. Like, if you play in the game, like you're feeling something the next week. It doesn't always end up on the injury report, or it's not serious enough where you have to get necessarily rehab for it specifically. But guys are battling through, and most guys are pretty quiet about it, so you don't even understand like the severity of things and how guys fight. But it's a tough sport for tough guys, and to be out there on a week-to-week basis is impressive. But guys go through a lot of stuff, and it's kind of crazy how much some of the guys put their bodies through to go out there and play.
Like desensitized to the injuries and the violence in the sport a little bit.
Oh, for sure, but it's part of it. We sign up for it, but yeah, I think guys. I mean, every Monday it's like you wake up from 70 car crashes and you feel it and you wake up, and I definitely don't walk quite as well on Monday as I do on Friday. Coming out of it, so it's part of the business though, and I think it's a great part about the sport. It's like it's a tough sport. How can you come back from that, and how can you do it on a week-to-week basis and be consistent? But the guys that can do it like that, it's very impressive.
When you talk about that Saints defense, does it remind you of what Joe Woods did here, or is it more kind of a Dennis Allen look?
I think more Dennis Allen. I know Joe Woods' secondary has a lot of that stuff involved, but this week he kind of called plays. He ran a lot more jam front. But they run a little bit more like under defense than I remember Joe was running when he was here. So I think they're a little bit more 2-gapping up front than what I remember Joe Woods doing here. But there's definitely some blitz tells and some game tells that he used to run as well.
Joe, one of the surprising stats going into the bye week is you guys haven't had to play over 40 yards yet this year. You've had some go over 20, but you're not really keeping pace with the flow of maybe what the defense gives up for. What's going to take for you guys to really get those home run plays that we have become so accustomed to seeing in the last couple of years?
Yeah, the explosive plays are huge. I think that's why the NFL went so heavy to the pass game, because they realized that if you get a 40, 50-yard game, your chances of scoring on that drive and scoring a touchdown are significantly higher. And I think it just comes down to our execution. If someone's open, we have to protect well enough, and if we're protecting well enough, we have to find an open guy. You see plays like the end of the Baltimore game where we took advantage of it. That would have been an 80-yard touchdown if we called it, on the 20. But you scored a touchdown before it happened. So there's plays, and then the run game, we got to finish our blocks and try and get Nick and Jerome and Pierre onto that second level where they can make those safeties miss. But I think like I talked about, it really comes down to our execution, and when we have the opportunity, you got to find a way to make it happen.
Joel, a couple more. Jed talked about his injury situation earlier this week, and Kevin sort of described it as like using the wrong words to kind of describe why he didn't play that Ravens game. But I think that situation in general kind of opened up as you're talking about injuries, just like the battle that you guys have to go through between like playing through an injury and just not playing at all because you can't. How often are you guys doing that? And how tough is that to sort of combat it?
Yeah, it's tough. Because there's times like as a player, I always think like, well, if I'm at 70 or 80%, like you have to find that fine balance. Am I a better option than what's out on the field, and can I protect myself? And will my injury get significantly worse if I got this? So those are kind of like the three questions that go through my mind when I'm doing it. Most of the time, if I can go, I'm going to be out there. But if it's going to get worse or you're not able to perform, like you make that decision. And it's not always. There's no like one way to do things. And I think majority of the time, if a guy's too injured to go, they make that decision.
Thanks, Joel.
Yeah, appreciate it.